Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about the 2023 American horror film directed and edited by Kevin Greutert and written by Peter Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg. We have Saw X, obviously Saw, like probably one of the most iconic, sort of modern day horror franchises, at least one of the most iconic, like that really was born in the 2000s. And we have another movie here, and I have watched the first three Saw movies. I haven't watched much after that, and I think they have kind of gotten worse as time has gone on. And like from 1 to 2 to 3, I think the movies just progressively get worse. That's kind of my outtake on it. And it seems to me that the concept has gotten a little worn out. I lost a little hope going into this one, but that lost hope turned into intrigue as it was announced that this movie followed the events of the first one, and from that point on, I was all in. I was like, okay, we're following the events of the first film, at that point, like the best of the series. So I thought this could be pretty good, and I loved where they went with the first one, and this is a good way to sort of fulfill the cliffhanger that we're left off with in the first one. Jigsaw as a character is extremely unique and admirable, but let's face it, overall this franchise has done him dirty. I think they have like poorly executed movie after movie here. Will that change with this movie? Let's find out. So getting into the premise, this movie follows John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, who finds out he has terminal brain cancer. Obviously, he knows he's had brain cancer for a while, but like he's starting to find out that it's terminal and that he's not going to be able to get a cure or survive it. But he has some unfinished business, and fellow cancer support group friend Henry tells him of this drug cocktail cancer treatment process that Dr. Finn Peterson is running, all across the globe. He has to constantly be on the run because, like, the government is on his case. So there's this whole, like, super crazy, like, antidote where, like, I guess 90% success rate. A bunch of people are, like, getting cured from it. And yeah, seeing no other options, Kramer contacts Finn's daughter Cecilia and punches a ticket to Mexico, their operating grounds, where he hopes to cure his cancer. Like at this point, they kind of are in Mexico, and he decides to get a plane ticket. He decides to sign up, give her his contact information, all that sort of stuff, and boom, this movie moves its way to Mexico, which is fucking cool. I think that's really cool to see a change of pace, a change of setting for this franchise. Even though the aesthetics of some of the stuff looks pretty much similar to where he was operating at, in the first couple of movies. However, Jigsaw realizes that the operation was a complete scam and he has been played by some con artist. He returns to his glory days because of this, and he seeks to make everyone associated pay eternally through a bunch of traps and games in classic Jigsaw style, and this is such a ride. Let's just get into the good, the bad, and the okay. Give it a rating. So starting off with the good, overall I very much favor the direction that this movie goes in as a whole. I think like it's so cool. I like the dynamics, pretty much everything about just the story and the premise is great to me. Even without all the twists and turns that happen throughout the movie, I love the fact that John Kramer is in like desperation mode to cure his cancer, and he's willing to go at great lengths to like find the cure and find a medical professional that can help him out. I also like how he kind of ends up being a hero rather than a rather justifiable, not really, but still a villain. He kind of becomes a hero throughout this movie, and that's something we've never seen in the Saw franchise. He goes from inflicting pain on those who crossed him to saving a kid from that pain, and this is a kid that he barely knows. This is a kid he just met in the first part of the movie. And I feel like this really added to his moral compass. It was much needed for this franchise, much needed for this whole kind of like vigilante, moral compass, moral expert type of guy, type of character. I don't know, he's judgmental obviously, but yeah, and I also love how he is put in vulnerable spots throughout the movie. Again, not something you see out of other Saw movies. This movie does a really good job at kind of distinguishing itself from some of the other movies, and that's why it is so good to me. Being the one who got played is a very refreshing light towards this character, and I also just love Amanda getting involved in this. I love her inclusion in this movie. She has been involved ever since Kramer put her through her own trap, but here is like a father and daughter relationship, and I love it. I really like kind of her journey, her backstory, and all that kind of culminating into what happens in the next couple of films. So, yeah, her kind of getting teary-eyed over him possibly dying, it's amazing. There's a lot of emotion there. There's a really good like chemistry, a really good relationship between Kramer and Amanda. It's awesome. And it's cool to see how she survived the moral test, becomes Jigsaw's protege, and watches others go through it. And she pretty much masters all this stuff and becomes almost Jigsaw herself in the films after, like the second movie and all that. It's great. And I actually liked Cecilia as a villain. There's so much malice in her heart, no remorse. She makes John using traps to kill people almost look angelic, based on her motives and based on her actions and what she does in this movie and how far she takes it to get her way. It's crazy. She's actually a really good villain, and she's so annoying, and that's why she's such a good villain. She's such a hateable person. Yeah, and her intentions just propelled her, again. I also like how you can watch this film and retroactively look at how the franchise transpired and be like, oh, that makes sense. There's a lot of holes that were kind of covered with this movie. I think they did a really good job with that. I like the fact that you can watch the first Saw, Saw X, then Saw 2, and maybe Saw 3, and honestly forget the other 5+ movies in the franchise, because who in their right minds wants to go back and down those paths and go back and watch those movies? Like, if you're not wanting to watch all the movies, just watch Saw 1, then Saw X, then Saw 2, then Saw 3, and that's all you really have to watch. Maybe Saw 4, I don't know. But let's get into the bad. Next is the bad. This movie struggles with the same thing that most of the other Saw movies struggle with, so I feel like it is sort of unfair to kind of put this in the bad, and that's just like the unrealistic nature of like the events, the plot of the movie, and how the characters are just able to go through these traps, cut off limbs, flesh, even take part of your fucking brain tissue out of your head and just never like falter, never pass out. It doesn't even seem like there's much of a struggle there. You're able to just cut straight through your fucking arm and take the pipe bombs out. The whole brain tissue one just like kind of took it over the top, because it's like there's no way when you're picking at your brain you're not poking something and like knocking you out or slurring your speech or disorienting yourself or resetting your fucking body. Yeah, there's no way. It just makes no sense. Like, you're really just going to take chunks out of your brain. I don't know. I don't really understand that. And also, with some of the earlier traps, I think this is the last negative I have, like Mateo, with Valentina and Mateo earlier on, things got a little repetitive with how the trap sequence ended. Like, it's like, oh, they got so close, but then they didn't make it, so boom, they died. They barely missed it. And it was kind of repetitive. Some of the trap aspects of the movie overall were kind of repetitive, but yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to the okay. So getting into the okay, the thing I don't even really care for about this franchise is the traps in general. I know people are like, that's not what makes this franchise so iconic, and I can appreciate that and I understand that. But I am not really that intrigued with the whole trap nature. I like that they're put in traps because they aren't moral people and they're facing a moral dilemma and they're trying to prove themselves. I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, just overall in this franchise. I mean, to me, they're kind of just there in the movie. They seem to be a vehicle that carriages the carnage, but for the sake of this movie, I wasn't really necessarily here for the gnarliness. I was here for John Kramer. I don't really care about the gore that much in this franchise. I mean, it does get a little over the top. And obviously, I don't mind gore. Like, I'm not a softie towards it. But, I was just here for John Kramer being center stage for the first time in the franchise. And not exceptionally good traps, but nothing that affects the movie. I'd say Saw 2 is my favorite traps of the franchise. Now, that movie I can get behind in terms of the traps. Those are amazing. I think it had, like, the needles. It had the thing with, like, the big-ass box. Those were some really good traps. This one, that was okay. Let's get into the review. So getting into the review, pull up that tier list. I'm fully willing to say that this is the best Saw movie in the whole franchise. Is that really saying much? And not really, because there's only like 2 or 3 other movies it's really competing with. But still, I would say this is probably the best movie in the franchise. The direction they went with the story, John's kind of new accepted role as like an anti-hero kind of. The traps are okay, I guess. The twists and turns, all of that amounts to an incredible movie experience, and they went in a direction that I never would have expected a Saw movie to go with. And for that, I give it an 8.1 out of 10. I know for like the best movie in a franchise, that's not really that good. And honestly, I could bump it a little higher, because honestly, the first Saw is probably about an 8 out of 10, and this one is a couple of points higher. But I mean, Saw is a pretty disappointing franchise. Even like Saw 2 and 3, I'd probably give like 6s and 7s out of 10. So, yeah, that is probably going to do it, guys. Oh my goodness, I am so excited for this week, boys. You don't even understand how excited I am. College football is coming out in, I think, like 11 hours, maybe even 10 hours by the time you're watching. Maybe even 9 hours by the time you're watching this video. Or not 9, 20. I think like 20 hours from when you guys are watching this, the game's going to be out, and I am so excited. So yeah, we're going to be starting a Road to Glory series. We're going to be doing a Ultimate Team series, and at some point when we get everything set up with some of the friends from the Discord on stream, we're going to be doing a series where we play an online Dynasty. That is going to be so much fucking fun. Can't wait for that. Obviously, you know, we're going to start doing only 2 movie reviews a week, except for and not 3. We're going to cut down to 1 episode review a week until we are done with the 2K series as well. So there's a lot of stuff I'm kind of in the queue for, like kind of loading up. So peace out, guys.